You know, we had Mayor Robertson on last week. It was the first time in a while that Mayor Robertson had been on with us. And I just want to play you a couple of cuts from our interview with Mayor Robertson. A lot of folks were a little surprised, including me. It kind of seemed like he threw you under the bus pretty quickly when I asked him if he was surprised that two of his city council team were running against him. That would be Kirk Deviere and, of course, Mitch Colvin. Here's what the mayor had to say.
I was kind of surprised that Mitch got in the race, quite honestly. We've done some great things together, and he and I have worked very well together as a team. We've supported each other's projects and, I think have the same vision for the city and wanted to move things forward. The difference is execution. I've been able to do it, and, he's not.
He's not able to do it?
He has not been able to move some projects forward that, in fact, he even admitted, I think it was on your show, that things aren't moving quite as fast as he wanted them to move in some of his committees. And I'm a committee guy, and I believe, honestly, that that's one of the challenges that they have in viewing my leadership style, is I brought back committees.
Nat Robertson last week on the show. Your response?
Well, I said before that I'm going to try to keep this race about issues. I think that the fact that you can look at, the fact we've got baseball, I chaired that. I think I executed that pretty good. Gateways, we changing that. I think I've done a pretty good job on that. It hadn't gone as fast, but I set a high bar of expectation for myself. Sometimes I'm the biggest critic. But I'm gonna pray real hard and keep this race about making the petition for the best person for the job, and I think I'm qualified to do that. And the fact that they send me in there on some of the most important and key issues, I have the confidence of my colleagues. And I will say this, that we are where we are in this community, I think, and this has nothing to do with previous councils, but this body of council members, we are where we are because we've had a strong team. And we have led the way in a lot of ways, from the money for swimming pools and splash pads that everyone's taking credit for now. There were 6 members that voted for it, 4 against it. The crime rate is dropping because we funded the police department properly. There were 6 people that voted for it, 4 against it. And so I think that this team has brought us to where we are, and that's part of what leadership is all about, is making sure that you keep the team intact. And so the mayor's entitled to his opinions. I still respect him and Councilmember Deviere a lot, and I'm not running against either one of them. I am running for the seat of mayor because I think I've got the attributes it takes to keep the ball rolling forward. So, well,
you are running against them. you can say that all you want, but you are running against Deviere and Robertson. Talking with Mitch Colvin, let me play you one more cut from my chat with Mayor Robertson, and this kind of surprised me. I asked him about the 25% poverty rate here in Fayetteville, and here was Mayor Robertson's response.
Not to sound like I'm not sensitive to everyone's issue, but poverty is a problem everywhere in the country. It's not exclusive to Fayetteville, North Carolina. The other thing you've got to look at is who is tasked with really looking at this. I mean, I guess we all are as our brother's keepers. However, it specifically falls under the Health and Human Services area of the county. So, is it appropriate for a different jurisdictional government to take claim to an issue that we don't really own, and that hardly any city across the country owns? I don't want to sound insensitive because it is an issue and we've got to address it. But it just like Shaw Heights, we don't own it. It belongs to somebody else.
And I was surprised at those comments because he is the mayor of Fayetteville. This is a Fayetteville poverty problem here. And I guess I was a bit surprised to hear the mayor of Fayetteville say, I don't own this. And, of course, what do I know? I'm not in government. I don't really know how things work. But your thoughts on that?
My thoughts is that people elected us to make this a great city. And you can't have a great city if 25% of 200,000 people, which is about 50,000 people, are living below the poverty line. Then that's our problem. And people are tired of us passing the buck and blaming someone else and forwarding your call to someone else. They're tired of the bureaucracy. All they want is a leader that's going to get it done. And that is part of what I plan to do. I think one of the issues that we've had in the past is that there's no joint plan amongst the bodies. And so I have a great relationship, and I plan to work with, get a county commissioner, a representative, school board representative, PWC, the hospital. You can't have a great community if the entire community is not performing well. And we can build as many baseball stadiums as we want, but until we do what it takes to help those 25% of the people, it is our problem. And that's going to be my perspective. And people are tired of the excuses. They want more action.
A lot of people won't be able to afford a ticket to our new baseball team.
Right, absolutely.
When you talk about the problem of poverty, obviously it's a multi-pronged issue. You know, one of the solutions, of course, is bringing more jobs to Fayetteville. I think a lot of people would agree that that's been a little slow, is bringing good-paying jobs. There are a lot of restaurants, a lot of fast food places opening up almost every day here in Fayetteville, but those are minimum wage jobs. So aside from economic development and bringing jobs in, what are some other pieces of the puzzle to eliminate poverty in Fayetteville?
Well, the reason you joint plan, I think one of the greatest equalizers to bringing people up the social ladder is education. And so we've got to work hand in hand with our school board to make sure that we educate these people. The other thing is that we need to make sure that we increase the number of bachelor degree or post K through 12 degree holders. And so I think education is a great equalizer. I think that we've got to put more concentration on growing the diversifying our economy, that everything is not based on the military. I think that the mayor should be out as an ambassador, both nationally and internationally, selling our city to people so that we can attract those private sector jobs here that we're talking about. Even though I think I heard on your clip where he talked about the unemployment rate, it's moved down nationally and statewide, but we're still 2 or 3 points behind like we were when he got here. So somebody's got to own that, and I think that you've got to get out of your seat and stop waiting on deals to come to us, and we've got to get out and have a great community that we're selling to people. And I think you can only do that by collaborating with your different bodies. This is not a county, they handle certain services. The school board makes sure that the population is educated, and the city needs to pull all that together, and the leadership needs to make sure we do it. But I think that poverty is an issue that has to be on the front line. It is a symptom of the problem. We need to address the problem. And so the problem is that we need to get out and get off our hands and stop waiting on someone to send job opportunities to Fayetteville.
Talking with Mitch Colvin, our mayor pro tem. What frustrated you over the now you've been in the city council over 3.5 years. What has been the most frustrating part of being on council? What did you hope to get done by now that maybe hasn't been done, or maybe you've started, but it hasn't really come to fruition yet? What is the frustrating part of doing what you do?
Well, the pace that government moves. Because you're dealing with the public's dollars and their processes and procedures. It's not like my world at the funeral home where I said, look, we need to buy a new limo, or we need to paint the building, and immediately you get that done. Government moves slow, and that is a little frustrating when you're used to the private sector process. However, that's the process. They have the controls in place to make sure that things work the way they're supposed to. And like I said, I set a high bar. That unemployment bothers me. And I think that if I'm elected or fortunate enough to be mayor, that I'm going to get out and do some things different and establish our presence regionally. I think we have an excellent opportunity to make Fayetteville a center of commerce here. And that would come with expanding our airport capabilities to bring in more cargo. I think it works with working with Wilmington as they get the money to deepen their ports to make sure that we're 83 miles away, that we can have some kind of inland terminal system to disperse the goods throughout the state and the city. Right now, they're driving to Charlotte to do that. I think that creates a couple thousand jobs. So there's some ideas that I have that we need to get off the buck and get outside of our community and do what we got to do to put our people to work.
It looks right now like there could be a big turnover on the city council next year. Obviously, with Bobby Hurst not running, with you and Kirk giving up your city council seats to run for mayor, there is a great race now shaping up in District 4 between incumbent Chet McDougald and longtime city council. I think 16 years DJ Heron did in District 4. That's shaping up to be a very close race as well. Is that a good thing or a bad thing when city council changes over so much? Because it just happened a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that government is working properly when you've got citizens that want to get engaged in the process. Now, one of the things that prompted me to run was that, like you said, we're going to have anywhere from a 30% to a potentially 80 or 90% turnover, and we have too many different important things in the pipeline to go back to where we were in 2013. We had 6 people, Councilman Hurst, Wright, McDougald, Katie Ann Davey, and myself and Moan that really stood out, and we did things like fund our police department, get money in there to build these swimming pools. And so you've got to have some leadership that keeps the group moving forward. And that's what frightened me a little bit, that we can't go back to those stagnated days, because if it's that big of a turnover, you got to have someone that can work with their board and keep the projects moving. So it's going to be some interesting time, and all the politicals. It's probably like Christmas to them. Huh?